A couple weeks ago, I said this. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is an amazing game. You could even say it is a masterpiece, but it is a terrible sequel. Now that I have actually beaten Tears of the Kingdom, I want to take a look at some of my complaints and see if I still feel that way or if maybe some of my opinions have changed. Also, before we really get into it, this video will contain major spoilers, like for everything, including the very ending of the game, so be warned. Also, just so we're all on the same page, I put about 65 hours into the game. Now, at the time of my first review, I'd said I'd only put about 25 hours in. I was wrong. I was actually a lot closer to 40, maybe not quite 40, but I was definitely close. My main complaint with the game is that it felt too similar to Breath of the Wild, too samey. Not only in gameplay, but also narrative structure and story as well. So let's start there. And I specifically want to talk about story first, because this is what really surprised me. I still feel like the stories follow a very similar narrative structure, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. But Tears of the Kingdom really surprised me. I thought the fight in Hyrule Castle was going to be the end of the game, and it wasn't. I got to Hyrule Castle expecting to fight Ganon, and instead I was met by, I think, 10 Phantom Ganons, 2 sets of 5, and after I beat them, I was like, okay, I'm gonna fight Ganon, but no, I was met with the message that the princess is in another castle, and instead of the game ending where I thought it would, I was then forced to go find another sage, do a whole nother temple, the Spirit Temple specifically, a whole nother boss fight, and then not only that, I also had to track down where Ganon actually was, and then I had to fight my way through the depths to actually get to him before I even got to the final boss fight, and I loved that. It added a whole nother layer of gameplay and story onto Tears of the Kingdom that was not in Breath of the Wild, and it was amazing. And let's talk about the boss fight for a second. It was a lot more challenging than it was in Breath of the Wild.
There we go! There we go! Done! Let's go! Ha! Oh! Ha! We got him, boys! No! 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 I got too excited! I got too excited. I have one heart left. I should have known. Nah. Do you see his health bar? Y'all can't even see the full thing because it's behind my camera.
And I specifically did the Tears of the Kingdom boss fight roughly around the same power level I did the Breath of the Wild boss fight, just to get a good sense of the two games. And while I was able to beat Calamity Ganon on my first try, it took me at least 10, if not more, tries to beat Demon King Ganon, and I really appreciated that extra level of challenge. Not only that, but Calamity Ganon, we only had 2 phases to the boss fight, and Demon King Ganon, we got 3, which was really nice. Gameplay-wise, in my initial review, I was really upset that they had pretty much just reskinned the shrines and the towers, and now that I've beaten the game, I still feel that way. I think reskinning these things was just a really lazy and uncreative way to implement these features. Though the shrines don't bother me as much because they were such a major part of the first game, and even though they weren't necessarily my favorite part of Breath of the Wild, a lot of people really loved them. And so I understand why they had shrines in this game. I just wish we could have got some concrete lore on why the old shrines and towers are gone and the new ones are here. The towers, though, still BS, still hate them. I really hated having to go through and unlock a map that I'd already unlocked in the first game. It felt more like a chore than anything else, and by the time I got through them all, I didn't feel the sense of accomplishment. It was more a sense of annoyed relief that it was finally over. let's talk about the outfits, because that's another thing I had a huge issue with in my initial review. After that review, I was actually able to find some unique outfits that not only looked really cool, but also served a really important role gameplay-wise, which definitely helped improve my opinion on the outfits and armor in this game, but I still think it's ridiculous that we had to go through and unlock armor that we got in the first game. If it was purely cosmetic and optional, it wouldn't have been such a big deal. It would have been like, oh, I really liked this armor set, I want to go get it so I can look like that again. Oh, that would have been one thing. But saying they were actually required to get through the story, it just made me feel like I was wasting my time. As I said multiple times in my last review, it just feels like I was being punished for playing the first game. I also complained that the depths and sky areas felt underutilized, and I mostly disagree with my past self on that. After putting quite a few more hours into the game, I was really able to see the value within the depths and the sky area, and I really enjoyed my time there. And I really love the fact that you can find treasure maps in the sky area for the depths. It makes the two areas feel connected, and I love that. Also, at the time of my first review, I had only completed 2 temples, and I literally was about halfway through the second one. The first 2 I did were in the sky area, and the third one I did was on the main map. And because of that, I just felt like the depths weren't that important to the story. But obviously, as we all know, the fire and spirit temples are within the depths. And that changed my opinion a lot because I just felt like the depths weren't really important to the story. I just wasn't patient enough. And that's on me. I'll take the L on that one. I do still think there could have been just a little more within the depths and the sky areas. But at the end of the day, there's so much within these games, I don't really know what else they could have added. I also have a ton of thoughts on the lore for this game, and I decided it would be better just to talk about that in its own video, so keep an eye out for that. I don't know. If I'm just being completely honest, I'm really struggling with if I think this game deserved to be a fully fledged sequel or not. Because on one hand, it improves pretty much everything from Breath of the Wild. The gameplay is far more complex, the dungeons are more interesting, the story is deeper and more compelling, and like I stated earlier in the video, I do think it's a more challenging game than Breath of the Wild. But on the other hand, consider all of the shrines, the towers, the Korok seeds, and the outfits that you have to grind through just to get Link to the level he was at the end of Breath of the Wild. That takes a ton of time. I don't know the exact percentage, but I could confidently say at least half of my playtime, if not more, was spent just doing these things. Things that, if this had just been a DLC, would have already been done. I just feel like a lot of my time was wasted. Like I said in my last review, I think the whole hero gets bonked and has to completely start over from square one is a really bad way to handle a sequel. So a part of me thinks that this could have been one of the most amazing DLC of all time, if not the most amazing DLC of all time. Just imagine with me for a second, you take away all the grinding that I just mentioned, and you add the depths, the sky area, the new abilities, and outfits to the first game, to Breath of the Wild. It would have been phenomenal. But again, on the other hand, I don't think they could have done as much story-wise if it was just a DLC. And talking about abilities, I really think that the fusion ability probably would have suffered a lot. So I'm really struggling with what I think about this game, because I really love it. It's so good. But I just didn't enjoy all the grinding that I had to redo. I don't know. I know this isn't necessarily the most satisfying answer. Some of you probably came to this video hoping for a definitive either yes, I was wrong, or no, I wasn't wrong, I hate this game, blah, blah, blah. I know it's not as satisfying of an end of a video. I just am left unsure at the moment. And so I'd really like to know what you guys think, what your thoughts are about Tears of the Kingdom and about what I've been talking about today. Let me know in the comments below and let's have a discussion. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Like I said, I've got a lore video coming up soon. It's gonna be a little deranged, so be looking out for that. Goodbye, everybody.